Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, back here in my empty apartment in Brooklyn, hoping it will sell a little more quickly now that the first of the year is over. But whether it does or not, I'm all set up. I actually kind of like this minimalist set here. You know, the tam-tam and the humidifier, they're kind of the story of my life when you put them both together. But anyway, I am here with fabulous concert programs. Number 46 in Arnold Bax Symphony Cycle. Can you believe it, Baxians? I can already hear the celebration coming through the ether at the planet Baxia. I just had such a good time at Baxia. I figured I owe those people. I got a free trip. I mean, you know, so they get their Bax Cycle thanks to the free trip. Anyway, Bax symphonies are, he was the greatest British symphonist alongside Vaughan Williams. So we have to do the Bax symphonies. And Malcolm Arnold, really the three of them, I think, were the really big ones. I mean, there were symphonists who wrote more. There was Havergal Bryan, there was Robert Simpson, you know. But in terms of people who have at least the ghost of a chance of having some kind of recognition and performance history, Bax is definitely in there. And his symphonies are not all easy works. They aren't. They're fascinating. They're colorful. They're voluptuous. I mean, they're wonderful to listen to. But they are emotionally intense and sometimes fraught pieces. And Symphony No. 1 is fraught. It's one of the fraughtest. And it's actually very interesting because, you know, it is the earliest of them. After that, he kind of settled into his symphonic frame, and they actually get easier to deal with. But the first is a naughty, aggressive, full of angst and Sturm und Drang and that kind of thing. And for that reason, I think it needs a somewhat special program that I've assembled here, and you'll see exactly why and how that goes. It is a very powerful work. I mean, an impressive work. It's a noisy work. It's loud. The middle movement is the best, I think. I mean, it's kind of like an introduction and funeral march or procession type thing. And it's very powerful and evocative. It's just a marvelous piece. The work proceeds in three movements, from tragedy to triumph, such as it is. Bach's symphonies usually have three movements. It's very interesting. He had his own way of doing things, and it ought to be recognized for the masterly and original format and formal, you know, sort of solution that he actually achieved, because, you know, nobody else did it quite like he did, and that's really something worth thinking about. So anyway, what do you do with this piece? It is gnarly. It's not thematically all that easy to grasp. It does have mottos that recur, but it doesn't have, really easily identifiable tunes, and it doesn't have those tunes arranged in an easily graspable formal framework. It's just a lot of storm and stress and gouts of passion erupting everywhere, and it's fantastically orchestrated, and it's a moment by moment work. You don't really get a sense of an overall shape, at least not until you know it really well. And most people who are going to a concert will be hearing it once for the first time. And so I wanted to sort of put it in a framework where it will show itself off to the best effect, but also people are somewhat ready for what's in store for them. And I'm not saying that in a way that's threatening. It's a great piece to listen to, but it is very different from what a lot of people expect when they hear symphonies. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. So what do we got? Well, first half is Tchaikovsky's Marche Slav, and then the Grieg Piano Concerto. The Grieg is there because everybody loves the Grieg Piano Concerto, and you can get a big deal soloist to play it, which will hopefully bring some people in, but also because it's a Nordic work. And Bax's music generally falls into that sort of, upper part of the globe, the Celtic, the Northern, the something like that. So I think that, there's an element there. And, whether you recognize it or not, who knows? It doesn't really matter. But the March Slav, I think, is the important thing. First of all, I don't ever see anybody play it anymore. I mean, it's like 10 minutes of pre-Bax, if you want to call it that. The March Slav is often denigrated as being kind of noisy and trashy and vulgar, and it is. So is the Bax First Symphony in its way. So this is a concert for people who like loud things, who like noise, who like to hear a full orchestra just going like crazy. And the March Slav is the perfect introduction because it really does give you a foretaste of what you're in store for when you get to the Bax Symphony, although the Bax has a much more variegated orchestration. I mean, the Tchaikovsky is primal in its simplicity. It's just simple tunes with sledgehammer accompaniments. The Bax doesn't have the simple tunes, but it's got plenty of those sledgehammer-like sounds. And so you do get two aspects of a similar approach, and that approach is take no prisoners, grab you by the throat, and give you a good shake. And I think Tchaikovsky is the perfect preparation to what's going to happen after the intermission. At least that's my theory. You can give it a listen for yourself at home and see if that theory works out. I tried it, and it works for me. It really does, because I get a sense of, you learn that even though the harmonies in the Bax are somewhat elusive and far more complex and dissonant than in the Tchaikovsky, you feel like you're covering some familiar territory. You really do. It helps. It helped me anyway. Sort of adjust to what's going to be going on, and it's just a big punchy symphony. This is like it's like an adventure movie, or what's his name? Was that Keanu Reeves guy, John Wick, or whatever his name is? Where you just go from one scene of murder and mayhem to another scene of murder and mayhem, and the plot doesn't really much matter. What matters is that things are just getting blown up and people are getting slaughtered, and it's all just about your viscera. It's about visceral action at every point. Now, the Grieg, of course, is not so much about visceral action at every point, but, you got to have a rest at some point. I mean, you've got to. You just have to, take it down a notch, but still make it lovely and tuneful and enjoyable, and then you can take it up a notch. So there it is. It's your adventure movie. You start out with the March Slav, and then you have this interlude, with the Grieg, where things are sort of going nicely and you have a good time, and then you have intermission and you come back and all hell breaks loose. And it's so much fun. I mean, it does have a triumphant ending. I mean, a big, blasty, heroic conclusion. So there's a payoff at the end. There's a really good payoff. And that's also like the Tchaikovsky, by the way. And so there you go. Number 1 in our series of Bax symphonies. Go forth and keep on listening. And greetings to all the denizens of the planet Baxia from down here in little old planet Earth. Take care.